you better run. Sanko boy, policeman a come.
Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police a come and the gala holla murder. Police a come and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Police a come and the gala holla murder. Police a come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police a come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman a come.
Sanko chase the love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko chase the love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police a come and the gala holla murder. Police a come and the gala holla murder. Sanko catchy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko catchy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Police a come and the gala holla murder. Police a come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police a come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman a come.
Sanko squeeze the love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko squeeze the love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police a come and the gala holla murder. Police a come and the gala holla murder. Sanko left the love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko left the love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Police a come and the gala holla murder. Police a come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy,
You better run.
Sanko boy, police a come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police a come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman a come.
Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko licky love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police a come and the gala holla murder. Police a come and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko kissy love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Police a come and the gala holla murder. Police a come and the gala holla murder. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, police a come. Sanko boy, you better run. Sanko boy, policeman a come.
Sanko chase the love up on the dam and the gala holla murder. Sanko chase the love up on the dam and the gala holla murder.
Police a come and the gala holla
So,
murder.
this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Killian Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins firm.
All right. Hey, good evening. Ensure you check out and you support those businesses that we advertise here on 107.1 FM. Hope you've had an enjoyable weekend. I did. I did. Yes, here it is. I'm sitting talking with you guys. We have lots of things to talk about. I know some of you celebrated your birth anniversary. And your wedding anniversaries. Some probably got released a couple of years from where, and they celebrated that as well. Whatever you have celebrated, and if you have done so, mourning or something like that, remembering someone, we are here with all of you. For those birthday folks, belated birthday greetings to you. And if you're celebrating your birthday this evening, happy birthday to you. We have our special guests, not special guests, but those who are tuned in almost every night religiously. A couple of them celebrated their birth anniversary. We have that small man, Otto Martin. He celebrated, I believe, maybe somewhere in his 60s. He celebrated his birth anniversary yesterday. So, yes, Otto, salute to you and your birth anniversary. I believe his wife celebrated her birthday as well. And then we have DJ Shrimpy. Gosh, this feels like a birthday program, right? But DJ Shrimpy, happy birthday to you. Celebrated, I believe, his 82nd birth anniversary. Whatever. Yeah, good evening to Shrimpy. Happy birthday to him. And if you are celebrating your birthday today, happy birthday. If you celebrated your birthday over the weekend, belated birthday greetings to you. Desiree Simon celebrated her 16th birth anniversary over the weekend as well. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you had lots and lots of fun. And next time around, we all can celebrate it away from the pandemic, right? Good. So happy birthday to all of you and good evening to you folks. And thank you all for sharing the link. This evening, we have Lincoln Lewis. He's no stranger to you guys. We will be talking about a lot of things. I have lots of questions for Lincoln, but one of the questions I have for him has nothing to do with who is forming political party and who not form. We're not into those sort of propaganda something. We deal with real issues right here on 107.1 FM. One of the real things that we deal with is this here, the facts, the evidence. Look, it's in front of you right there. 61 dead voters. 4,864 absent voters, 150 stuffed ballot boxes, 47 ballot boxes without documents, 1,000, and I repeat, these are serious figures, right? 1,278 missing oaths of identity. But look at this, 4,864 absent voters. That's almost a seat. Almost one seat, 150 stuffed ballot boxes. That is thousands upon thousands of votes right there, 150. But look, yet these folks, these goons in the PPP, they have the audacity, they have in fact no shame to talk about SOPs. And I don't know why those guys in the opposition continue to waste time with PPP and SOPs. Who is going to show SOPs? And there's no time to show SOPs, right? The SOPs are in the courts right now. Let the courts call the elections petition, open the SOPs, or run through whatever SORs, SOPs, whatever. It is the court to handle these things. Nobody got to fetch no SOP and prove no point to anybody. The PPP knows that it's a propaganda. And I hope that the folks in the opposition will stop falling for this propaganda by the PPP. I don't want to go on for too long because I have Lincoln Lewis waiting, but let me just point this out quickly. This Guyanese singer that was gunned down over the weekend in New Jersey, our heartfelt condolences to his family, his friends, his supporters, his fans, everyone. So it's just ridiculous how things are going, really. New Jersey, this happened, and then 10 persons got slaughtered in Buffalo, and then some other folks out in California, and then some other folks in some other areas. I don't know, but condolences to the singer, his family members, friends, and his fans. All right, what else we want to talk about this evening? I don't want to keep Lincoln Lewis waiting for much longer, but let's bring him on. Let's begin with the propaganda. We'll save all the good evenings and the niceties for some other show, but let's welcome Lincoln Brandon Lewis, veteran trade unionist. Good evening to you, sir. I think your microphone is off, so if you can please turn your microphone on, Mr. Lewis.
Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, sir.
Our viewers. Yep. I hope you guys are doing well.
Yep, we are doing quite well, even under the circumstances. Let me start off by saying condolences to you and your family and the friends of your relatives. Two passed away. I know Colin Bob Semple passed away, and another relative of yours passed away as well. Accept our condolences, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yep. You want to quickly, about a minute or so, share some memories of those individuals who passed away? Colin Bob Semple to begin with.
Well, Colin has been a deep contributor in fighting in minority rights in Britain. He has worked here for some time on the law reform. He has been a member whenever it comes to this country, member of the family whenever it comes to this country. He looks out for us, Ted, who is always happy-going guy. We spoke until Wednesday night, and on Friday he was dead. He was my closest family by way of activities and so forth that live in the East Coast area. He lives at Golden Grove, just about 2 minutes drive from where I am. We have had a very good relationship over the years. I've been working in Georgetown, living in Georgetown and the East Coast. I'm going to miss both of these guys very much.
Lincoln, accept again our condolences right here on behalf of the management and staff of 107.1 FM. Our condolences to you and your family and the friends of those deceased. Also, on behalf of all of our listeners as well, I've noticed a lot of folks are saying, extending condolences to you and your loved ones. Lincoln, let's begin. The SOPs and why the PPP continues to make that a propaganda, when in fact the evidence is there. The 61 dead voters, 4,000, almost 5,000 absent voters, 150 stuffed ballot boxes, 47 ballot boxes without documents, 1,278 missing oaths of identity. And I recall you made this post sometime last year. It says here, what electoral democracy? 47 ballot boxes without statutory documents. Electoral malpractices. Only the lawless applauds lawlessness. Now, Lincoln, the reason why I'm bringing this up, because we seem fixated, well, not us here, but the PPP seem fixated on this SOP issue. and they're always banging at the doors of the opposition to show your SOPs, show your SOPs. The opposition, unfortunately, seem to be biting that bait. What is it that you have to say when it comes to the PPP and this SOP propaganda?
Mark, let me make this point very clear, that the only valid SOPs, the ones that are the commission, are in the possession of the commission. Those are the valid SOP. So asking the opposition to bring SOP, if they have the SOP, that don't mean anything. The court don't deal with that. They deal with what GCOM has. And the faster the opposition can come to terms and understand that they don't discuss that matter, that matter is a red herring. That matter is to distract you from holding this government accountable. Regardless of what you may want to see, the results of the elections in 2020 that was declared by GCOM has seen a government and an opposition, and more so is not the government, the executive and the opposition. You have seen the parliamentarians being extracted from a list based on that result. You have seen that the RDC, the 10 regional democratic councils, they are councillors who are extracted from the list based on the results. And what needs to happen now, we need to govern until such time, go ahead with the people's business until such time that the court makes a decision on the election petition, or the court says that the elections are nullified, or what have you, or a new election is being held. Ali is the president. Norton is right now the leader of the opposition. The business of the people has to go on. Don't sit down and be distracted by the stupidity of those people who are telling about asking about SOP. And it is something that I have looked at the other day at the conclusion of the meeting between the president and the leader of the opposition. I see NCN hounding the leader of the opposition, asking him about SOP. Where in the hell, where does this respect come from? What is the state entity that is being paid by us, where you have a leader of opposition who is representing half of this country, is being asked to show his SOP? Where does that disrespect come from? Never seen it before. And we need to get angry about that.
You know,
these people are out of order. They are out of place.
You are correct. You are correct, Lincoln, because I watched that impromptu press conference by the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton, as he exited that get together with Irfan Ali. And out of the blue, and this is where you have these lunatics, some of them disguised as journalists, mind you. And this is not any disrespect towards the legitimate reporters, legitimate journalists. We know who those individuals are. But some lunatics are actually spoiling the profession. I heard so-called reporters, one person ask a question, and right after, immediately before Mr. Norton answered that question, another one of the quote-unquote reporter has asked the same question. I'm like, these guys, aren't they listening? And then on top of that, one of them who is supposed to be a reporter, but is actually a lunatic in this out there, out of the blue say, did you walk with your SOPs? Did you walk with your SO? I mean, Lincoln, is that a comedy show or something like that? I don't know.
Let me tell you what. I hold no brief, in fact, for the president, neither the leader of the opposition. But I want to tell you that I have looked at what transpired on Friday last. It was a disaster. It was a disaster. And I'll tell you why I see that.
But but 1 second, Lincoln. Before you get to that, I want to ask you that, and you jumped to me before we get to that, before I had gotten to that, and which is good. We want to hear your point. Why the meeting or the get together? I prefer to describe it as with the leader of the opposition and the guy who sits there at office of the president, Irfan Ali. You mentioned earlier that the business of the people, the government's business, has to go on, right? I take umbrage to that respectfully, that I believe that the elections are questionable. And it is difficult to say to more than half of the people who deserve a better government to say, look, let the business go on. And we see when we say what the business go on, the amount of corruption, hundreds of millions of dollars going into the hands of friends and cronies and vagabonds who are connected to the PPP. But let us say that the shoe was on the other side of the foot. Do you think the PPP would have been saying, let the business of the government go on? Now, there's a reason why I say this. I want you to listen to this tape. We'll comment about it, and then we'll get on to that get together with the leader of the opposition and the man who sits there at the office of the president currently. Please listen to this.
Right across Ghana, when the ministers of Granger or Nagamutu come here after the 21st of March, you say to them, walk behind them, chase them out, they're going to be illegal. Say to them, you're illegal. Free up the country, you're undemocratic. They're going to face a different situation right across the country.
When they come to the communities, whether it is in Berbice or Essequibo and Linden or in South Georgetown or Agricola or in Emnor or Port Morant, the people of Guyana should treat them as illegal. I said they should walk behind them, chase them out of your communities, because it means they've been squatting in power.
Now, Lincoln, here it is. There was no elections then, but yet this guy, Bara Jagdev, is saying that the coalition government elected by the people is illegal. Walk behind them, chase them out. In other words, don't accept them. But yet, I just heard you saying that they are in, whilst I understand your point, I don't necessarily agree with you, that the people should accept that they are in government. They need to go on with the country's, the people's business and let the court iron it out. That's totally different from what Jack Day was telling their supporters. Chase them out. Your take, sir.
Let me point out to you from the outset that I come from an orientation from the trade union where we embrace democratic values. I am not Jack Dew. I'm not going to tell people to do the same thing. I am Lincoln Lewis, as you know, who argue for the respect of the instruments that these men have sworn to uphold, the Constitution and the laws of this land. I'm not going to do the same thing with them. In their DNA, I believe they have. You may not find a shred of democratic values in them. But in mine, I'm sure you will find that, because I believe in those values and I'm going to embrace them and the Constitution and laws. Let me go further to tell you this. The GCOM has declared the opposition has challenged the matter in court. The opposition has taken its seat in parliament. The GCOM has expressed who the executive will be, and the executive has identified what the composition is going to be. Until such time that the court has pronounced on it, those people will have to deliver. If we get ourselves, if you talk about the question of apportioning or what have you, the resources of this country to friends and family and so on, if we don't hold them accountable now, By the time the court pronounces or you have a new election, they're gone with the whole country. So we have to work on that. And that is necessary at this point. And the Constitution gives us the authority to do so. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's that is why I'm angry. I'm angry about the disaster that I've seen last Friday. I'm angry that they, first and foremost, let me say to you, these guys lack any international decency, any decency. They are stranger to protocols and what have you. And something needs to be done about them. Let me take you back. When Mr. Granger met with Mr. Jagdio's leader of the opposition, if you go back and you check the record, check the tapes, Mr. Granger welcomed Mr. Jagdio as he enters. Soon as he reached to the top of the stairs, Mr. Granger was there to welcome this man, to show some degree of moral decency. He welcomed him as opposition leader. I have seen some photographs where Mr. Norton, as leader of the opposition, was parked outside of the office of the president. The opposite, let me tell you something, there's a second highest office in this land, the most powerful office after the president. But you will get the diplomats, he will not treat the diplomats like that, they will drive into the office of the president. But you know how they treat the leader of the opposition? As if you're ordinary, say, come and park outside and walk inside. Let me show you further. I saw where Mr. Norton and others had to sit down and wait on the president who came subsequently, and then they stand up for him. Mr. Norton gone there representing half of this country, half of the electorate of this country. They're equals. You know, because you hold the office of president, you don't treat people like that. These shenanigans, and then after they loose the wolves outside, the wolves and dogs outside of the office of the president to ask you about SOP. No way, under Burnham, Hoyt, or Jagan, what happened that day could not have happened. Would not have happened. And Mr. Norton need to understand that these guys are up to shenanigans. And he has to build a team to respond to them in like manner. These guys don't care. What they intend to do is to humiliate him. And then today, during the day, they're circulating on the web derogatory photographs and statements about him. These people need to be told something. And I tell you what, Mr. Norton need to have all the options placed on the table.
All right,
Call
thank
you
you,
back.
Clayton.
Good.
Are you there?
I'll call you back at the end of the program.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, so let's continue here.
Hello?
Yes, sir. We are here. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Let me say,
Mr. Gab need to put all these options on the table.
Thank
These
you,
people are not prepared to treat with the opposition decently. Let me say to you, I have serious concerns about it. Very serious. And I'm passionate about this issue.
we'll get into that.
This thing here with Mr. Article 13 of the Constitution speak about the inclusionary democracy. And it is time that Mr. Norton understand that that is what will guide his discussions with the president. And the president must understand that that is what must guide his discussion with the leader of the opposition. He can't walk in, he can't invite Martin to a meeting as leader of the opposition. And then when he get in there, he's going to tell him that he's talking about constitutional commission. And then he will come up with 5 or 6 names, and say, these are my nominees. And Norton asking, this they say, let me have the CV for these people. Let me tell you something. CV matter in this one here. This matter here is about orientation. We can't have people who've been put on constitutional commission, who have a track record, right, of transgressing rights, violating laws, and all these type of things. But because they are supporters of a party or friends of the president, that we want to put them there because the president has authority to do so. These are constitutional commission. And we have to look at the orientation of the entire list of all the commissions that are there. And if they want to have what we call inclusionary democracy, then they need to come with something to the opposition. That when the opposition leaves there, they must have confidence, and they must be able to give confidence to the society that the men and women who are appointed to these commissions are people who we must have trust in. Let me tell you what. The constitutional commissions cannot stand alone. There must be other things. And what they intend to do is to use the state media and other forms to attack the opposition on every issue, to get away with appointing their people and giving what we call the hog of the resources of this country to their friends and families.
Let's stick a pin with
we
that.
We have to stand up against these things. We have to be guided by some fundamental principles. We have to see things differently. We have not learned. Let me tell you what. Let me give you one, Mark.
Sure.
I have heard every time you raise a matter, you are told that it is race. It is race. When you raise a matter, they tell you, when voting time comes, they tell you, you mustn't vote race. You must vote for issues. But let me give you an example of something. When we were going to Republican status, when we were about to become a republic, David Rose was the Governor General, and most likely he would have been the first president of this country. David Rose was not a man looking like me, nor you, nor the East Indian man out there, or the African man out there, or a Portuguese man. He was looking almost like white. Both Chedi and himself and Burnham would have accepted David Rose. But David Rose died. And they didn't go for one of the locals. They went for Arthur Chung, the Chinese man, because they were conscious. They were conscious of the race issue in this country. That's why they went for the Chinese man. The issue of race got to be addressed. I'm raising this because as Mr. Ali and Mr. Norton these issues got to be put on the table. The constitutional commissions can't operate in vacuum. We have to take into consideration orientation, race, and all these things in this country. We have to do that. You know, you've had, and we have to learn from history. Let me tell you something. In 1971, when Forbes Burnham government was about to nationalize Denver, they had to do a change to the Constitution. And because the Constitution had said that if you nationalize that, you will have to pay the person or the company that owns the property promptly. And they had to move the word prompt. And when they were about to move, when they were in the discussion on the Constitution, Chetty made it very clear that he's prepared to support Burnham on the question of removing Burnham and his government about removing the word prompt. But he said that there are some things that he needs. Among those things was that the people who were party comrades, PPP party comrades, who studied in Eastern Bloc countries, that they be given jobs. And they were given jobs. The other comrade who was a PPP, we got to understand our culture, this society, and how it's guided and how we will manage to keep the forces together. The other comrade from the PPP, whose name I will not call, who was incarcerated, was on remand for a serious charge. He was on remand. And Chetty made the point that he believed that that issue is political, motivated, and they need to work. If the two groups are going to work on the question of nationalization and what have you, at that juncture, that person, the charges must be dropped and that person must be released. And before the charges were released, were withdrawn, that comrade was taken out of the prison in Georgetown. I'm raising these matters for you to understand that these guys got to learn from history. They have to go back, look at those type of things, how those men behave. Those men behave differently to this thuggery where we get in now. When what's his name? Ali. Mr. Ali maybe and Mr. Ali and his team, they may say, oh, we have been able to do this to Norton. But they believe that people, right-minded people, and the diplomatic community think highly of them. They see that behavior as being boorish, crude, and somewhat bovine. We have to tell them. We have to tell them. If nobody wants to tell me, I'll tell them that what they did there is damn well bad. And we can't play with these type of things. Because if they treat the leader of the opposition the way they have treated him, what they won't do to me and what they won't do to the ordinary citizens. But some people will walk and say, yeah, I like what they do. You like it. You don't like it for yourself, but you like to do it to others. We gotta stand up. We gotta approach this thing differently, Mark. We can't sit down and allow these guys to get away. And when I talk about it, I'm talking about it in the context that we got to hold them accountable before they carry everything. We will not get anything in this country as a people. You know what they'll do to some people? They'll call them, like I open the paper and I see, oh, young public servant in Linden get house or land or something like that. And people say, You know what? What I want people to understand, all these people who run in and understand this very clearly. You may not be getting water right now, but they will give you a little grumsy water, little muddy water. And you say you haven't water, so you won't take that. But when they give you that, understand, look around and see what they're doing. They're giving their family and their friends distilled water. You are entitled to the same things that they're giving their friends, because the monies that are being used to do that are the monies from the consolidated fund, which are your tax dollars. As a citizen, you're entitled to be treated differently. And that is how we need to look at the situation. And don't say because they give you something, I will forget, I'm going to turn my Nelson's eye and forget the transgressions that they're involved in, the violations that they're committing, and say they're doing better.
Lincoln, if I
yes, ma'am.
Yes, and I appreciate.
You want to tell me something?
That's all right. Thank you so much. Your supporters were knocking at me. They want to hear more of you, the history lesson indeed. Then there are some who are agitated. They don't want to hear the history lesson. I am seeing some of their comments here. Francine Cruz is one of them. Don't want to hear no history lesson. Wants to hear solutions. Sometimes we have to go back and walk our people through a history lesson in order to get appropriate solutions, Francine. But let me say this, that my approach with the Constitution, and this is where oppressors beat the people with. They want the people to follow the Constitution, the law, the rule of law, and so forth and so on. And sometimes it is not the right thing to do. As it pertains to this regime, it is an illegal regime. It is in office under questionable circumstances. And in any other part of the world, maybe most part of the world, the citizens would not sit down and accept any government that has forced its way into office under questionable circumstances. It is unfair to say to people that they must accept this regime and wait until the court decides on all manner of things. It is as though you're trampling upon the rights of the people and say, wait a minute, let's fight it in court. In other words, tie the people's hands in the name of the Constitution and say then don't do anything as yet. It is before the court, but in the meantime, these vagabonds in office have to continue to govern the country. That may be one of our biggest mistakes, because Jack Day and those guys would never have allowed any government to function under the same circumstances. And that is where I respectfully disagree with you, that the people must confront this regime. The elections petitions must be heard with immediate effect. Now is not time to talk about constitutional appointments and all manner of things. They have disrespected the people. They have trampled on the Constitution that says there must be free, fair and transparent elections. It is the Constitution that says that. And therefore, these people cannot be allowed to continue to govern the country under the circumstances. Let the petitions be heard. That is my take on that, Mr. Lincoln. That is my take on it, sir. We are putting our hands up. We are surrendering to these vagabonds in the name of the Constitution. But again, that's just my opinion. Good trouble, as the late John Lewis said. Good trouble. We need good trouble under that illegitimate, that illegal regime. And we should have good trouble almost immediately. It is long overdue. That's my take, sir. We're not getting your volume at all. We're not hearing you. We're not hearing you, Mr. Lewis. We need to hear you. I'm a bit annoyed this evening that we must put our hands up and follow the Constitution. We want to follow the law. These vagabonds don't follow the Constitution. They don't follow the law. They agitate. They protest. They do all manner of things to get what they want. While you fix, we'll give you, our technical guy will give you a minute to probably re-enter the studio. but we need to fix it. I want to remind you again, Mr. Lewis, and all the other people about how these PPP vagabonds operate, but yet we have to follow this constitution. During slavery, guess what they did to our ancestors? That they forced into slavery. Read the scripture and love massa, love people, show them this nice loving thing, and they will continue to be. You'll continue to be a slave for the next 4 centuries and so on. Not with the PPP. This is how they act, and this is how we in the opposition must treat them.
Right across Ghana, when the ministers of Granger or Nagamutu come here after the 21st of March, you say to them, walk behind them, chase them out, they're going to be illegal. Say to them, you're illegal. Free up the country, you're undemocratic. They're going to face a different situation right across the country.
When they come to the communities, whether it is in Berbice or Essequibo and Linden or in South Georgetown or Agricola or in Emnor or Port Morant, the people of Guyana should treat them as illegal.
Notice, Lincoln, the areas that he is talking about. Again, we may be having some technical difficulties with Lincoln. But notice the areas that he's talking about. Port Morant, this area, that area, all PPP stronghold area, right? Areas. But yet when these vagabonds that have rigged an elections and are just relying on opposition coalition must show their SOPs. PPP, Barajak there, they have no legal authority to request anyone to show their SOPs. The PPP SOPs doesn't count at this moment. The PNC or the coalition SOPs is of no value of this moment. What is of value is the SOPs that were submitted by GCOM. Story done. The SOP. So Aubrey Norton promising to give SOPs is just a promise, just gaff. Jagdeo wanting to see SOP is BS. It's just gaff. That's what it is. Right? But one of the reasons the PPP is getting away with what they're getting away with is that they don't have the proper confrontation. They need a dose of the same medicine Jagdeo was talking about. But guess what? When they go into Linden and other parts of the place, you see coalition people sitting on the front desk with them, table with them, head table with them, and treating them as though they're some sort of angels into those communities. You've got to chase them out. You've got to make them feel uncomfortable. You've got to make them feel unwanted. That is the only time the PPP will listen. And thus far, they're getting away, Lincoln, with murder. The leader of the opposition has promised aggression. I don't know what has happened with that, but I spoke enough. Let me hand the mic back over to you, sir.
Mark, let me make this point to you. When you are at war, right now, in Europe, you have a war. People in some part of the world sit down to see how they're going to end it, and it is the rules. The rules in this thing here is guided by the Constitution. We cannot throw the Constitution aside. I made a point that what needs to be done is that in politics, you don't take any option off the table. In politics, you have all options on the table. Whatever you're doing, when two sides meet, whatever options are available to you, anytime you take one off the table, you weaken your bargaining power. So I'm saying to you again that the opposition has to keep all its options on the table. All its options must be there. And those options must be used wisely and at the appropriate time.
What the leader of the opposition walked away from this meeting? What exactly did he walk away from? Other than the fact, I agree with you, he parked outside, he had to walk inside. If I had any anywhere close in advising Aubrey. His security guys would have had to been there in advance to ensure that there's a spot in office of the president so that the leader of the opposition, his security guys, could drive in with him, park at a proper spot, and escort it out from right within office of the president. Don't park on the street and walk in. I've seen you right. I have seen ambassadors and so forth drove in to office of the president. Why is it the leader of the opposition has accepted this sort of unacceptable treatment from
it was demeaning, and I I don't believe that the government has any interest in engaging with the opposition consistent with Article 13 of the Constitution. I don't believe so. That's what I'm saying, that is what we should be holding them on. We must hold them on it. But the opposition leader cannot operate in vacuum. As I said, he has to marshal a team to respond to them. They must respond to them. These guys do not believe in honoring the spirit and intent of the Constitution. What they did there is to call Norton to tell Norton, okay, these are the commissions.
They never did. They don't respect the Constitution when it comes to the people.
What they believe in is triumphalism. They don't believe in governance. And the opposition got to cause them to believe in those, to operate within the confines that the Constitution established for governance in this country.
People are looking for action. They feel as though...
Why are you looking for... Yes, you're looking for action. Even what was taking place on Friday, Mark, even what was taking place is some form of action. And I'm saying that while it's some form of action, what has happened is that it became a disaster. Right? Things got in the next run. A number of things need to be done. Mr. Norton needs to recalibrate his strategy in dealing with these guys.
I don't think
these people here are not the normal kind of persons who are placed in government.
You know, Lincoln,
they don't care. Remember, under the PPP, from 2000 coming forward, you remember how many persons were killed. The only reason why it's happening now is because you have a number of media houses, online and otherwise, who will expose them. But they have not moved away from that thinking.
Well, not only that, a lot of the key players who were part of phantom squads and killing squads, murdering people, paying people to be murdered, they have gotten into a group that now they are being described as legitimate businessmen. And so they don't want to hurt their business by going back into the killing spree. That may be one of the reasons as well. But you know, Lincoln, I don't think there should be a second round with the PPP. The PPP doesn't want anything good out of this meeting other than to have Aubrey Norton sit with them, the leader of the opposition, for photo ops to look good. And at the end of the day, they're not going to give Aubrey Norton anything. Aubrey is going to get the CVs of those individuals. And guess what? The attacks are going to start on the individuals that CVs were submitted and not the illegitimate regime. Aubrey Norton, again, this is my opinion, mind you. Mr. Norton is the leader of the opposition. He has advices he can do, and he has been doing exactly what he feels is right. But I do believe under the circumstances that Mr. Norton should not have agreed to a meeting with Irfan Ali at the office of the president, since the elections results are questionable at this point in time and the government is questionable. They should have met at a neutral spot, maybe the Arthur Chung Center or somewhere, for coffee, for green tea or whatever it is, and then take the discussion from there about people's rights being violated. Aubrey got to get a chunk out of this. He can't sit there and just give in to the PPP just like that. Look at what's happening to the people in Linden. Look at how many people have been charged and persecuted. You mentioned how Chetty Jagan requested from Burnham before the bill to nationalize whatever it is back then. Before Chetty offered critical support, he got a chunk out of this. What is Norton getting out of these meetings with Irfan Ali? What is he getting? Does it worth his time? These are the questions that need to be answered.
Norton will have to speak with the government. We'll have to speak with the president for some constitutional matters. But I'm saying also that while you have these constitutional matters, there are other issues that Norton need to put in front of him. Because this question here of inclusionary democracy, if the things that are being done are impacting on the well-being of the communities who have voted for Norton, then he needs to put them in front of the president, and then the president needs to address them. You know, the president, let me tell you what is happening, and maybe don't lose sight of it. When you're elected president, you have a president for all the people, you know. When the man is elected leader of the opposition, is that he's advancing the interests of those people who voted for him. That's why he's there. So there are two different roles. And the faster Irfan Ali come to understand that he's not operating in a climate where he only looks after the supporters of the PPP. He's looking after the supporter, he's looking after the citizens of this country. It will be better for him. These guys do not understand that what they're doing, working towards denying and alienating a section of the society, that what they're doing is preparing, is already riding what you call a tiger. When the tiger turns back on you, you have nobody else to blame. And let me say further, if you're elected president or you're a government, you have to put programs in place that can stand the test of scrutiny. That when history has been written, you understand what your government has done, not discriminate against a section of society, but has worked for the inclusion of every facet of society.
You know,
they need to understand
that. Well said. That is true. But we all know the track record of this PPP. We know what they're about. They're not about fairness. They're not about equitable distribution of anything. You're the one that coined that phrase back in Guyana that is called economic genocide. It's happening here again. And anytime you have such a regime, as illegitimate as this PPP regime is, you cannot sit down and wait for them to come up with policies to suit your agenda or to be equitable. It is not going to happen. They have to be forced into doing that. And I say this, I say this because the PPP is getting away with murder. All over the country, we look at the discrimination. We look at what they're doing to people. They're persecuting people. They're charging people. Look at what they've put some former ministers through, some officials of the coalition through. Look at what they're doing to the people of Linden and all manner of things. This is the time for agitation, good trouble. It is part of the Constitution. We cannot sit back and relax and just talk and expect that this is going to happen. When Mr. Aubrey Norton was running for the leadership of the party, there was a lot to be talked about and complained about, that it was not boots on the ground, and maybe rightly so, that the previous leaders were not confronting the PPP sufficiently, and rightly so. I agree with that. They promised confrontation. They promised boots on the ground. That is the only language the PPP understands. It is the only language oppressors understand. Boots on the ground. Confront them in order to get what you want. We can't just put our hands up, talk, and talk on social media and feel that that is boots on the ground. Or like some members of parliament are walking around in some market buying little fruits and saying that this is boots on the ground, making a mockery of boots on the ground. That is not boots on the ground. Boots on the ground is good trouble, good confrontation that will bring this illegitimate regime to its knees. It's got to happen. It is not happening, but here it is. Look, Lincoln, talk about this now. Let's move away from Aubrey them for a moment. Government to purchase $1 billion in fertilizers for free distribution to farmers. Your take, sir.
Well, majority of the people are their supporters, and that is how they will behave. That is how they will behave. Let me point out to you, let me just take you back. It was only recently, within the fortnight, they break down houses in Linden. And when they finish break down the people's houses, they bulldoze their farmlands, break their houses, and then they turn back. You know what they said? They send it the central housing and planning man, and he said, it is unfortunate that this had to happen, but we're going to give them something else. But here how they treat with them. The same period the ministers went to on the Essequibo, and they said, look here, these people have problems with land. They're squatters. We are going to regularize it. Regularize the land situation and make sure to give you that you can use it as collateral to go to the bank. But what different treatment for different people. Different treatment for different people. Those at the Essequibo, their supporters. Those at Linden are not their supporters, but it's because of their pigmentation, they see them in a certain light. Let me give you a quick one.
Sure.
I was sitting with somebody when the housing guy was addressing the issue. And they said, you know, here again, we have a man an African man who goes into an predominantly African community and doing this to people. And all he has is an excuse. It's not something to correct the situation, what has been, the damage that has been done. And somebody turned and said, you know, a person made a point, they said, look, it is not pigmentation that determines the Africans in this country today. It is orientation. Many of these guys who are doing these things, who join with the PPP to do this thing, to disenfranchise people because of the race, many of these guys are not Africans. Serious as that. They don't know where they stand.
Lincoln, we are aware of those. We know who those individuals are. People are thirsty for solutions, for action. They feel that we are talking every night. We talk. They want action, the very kind of action we saw in 1997, the very kind of action we saw in 2000, in 2001, where thousands upon thousands of people hit to the streets and remember the Armstrong Agreement. Right? Remember not the Hertzmanstone Accord, the other agreement that saw Janet Jagan's presidency cut short, fake presidency cut short, because not because of the Constitution sitting back and saying, let the court or let the Constitution do this or do that. It was street agitation. We saw the unions. You were one of the top leaders back then in the streets with your union, with your members. We saw the GPSU on the Patrick Yard that's very quiet now, like a pussycat, right? We don't know whether Patrick Yard is in the country or out the country. We don't know whether Patrick Yard is alive or not alive. But the only time we get to hear him barking a little bit like a chihuahua is on May Day. He says something, blah, 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 and then he goes back into hiding. There's no longer much agitation from the unions like what we have seen, what we are accustomed to, Lincoln Lewis. The Lincoln Lewis that will hit the streets and walk the streets and talk all manner of things. And those are the sort of actions that will bring the PPP to its knees, those pussycats in the PPP to its knees. In 1997, you remember, you were there as a union leader. Your members came out to the streets
1999.
and forced the 99, forced the PNC leadership out there, forced them out. It wasn't the PNC that did that, or the leadership of the PNC, or Aubrey when he was then general secretary. It was you guys who did that, that brought them out to the streets with you and the people. We're not seeing that, Mr. Lincoln Lewis. We're not seeing that. All we're doing is talking and talking. What about the actions, sir? What about the actions? Talk about
Let me
talk to me, man. Talk to me.
1999 trade union public service strike. It was the militancy of the workers who were prepared to stand up and fight. 1997, it was the leadership of Hoyt and Norton that brought those people on the road. It was 97 was a question of election. 99 was the issue of wages and salaries. I'm saying to you that the issue before you is an issue of transgressing of rights, violation of laws, by a group of people who are somewhat deaf. As such, it is important that all options to stop what is taking place must be put on the table, examined, and the most appropriate one being implemented. That's my...
I got you. And I respect, because you've been there, you've done that, you understand it and so forth. But I also believe that all options have already been tried and given to this PPP regime. They do not.
No, all options have not been tried, Mark. Mark, let me tell you what. Let me tell you something. Hold on, let me tell you something, Mark. Mark, let me tell you this.
Before you tell me something, let me tell you something. This PPP regime, and with all due respect, Lincoln, this PPP regime, they're not concerned, sir. They're not concerned about options. They don't act as a result of options on the table. They act as a result of actions. Street actions will get these vagabonds to move. Otherwise, you saw what I just showed you there, right? Look. $1 billion out of the money that they just got, $200 million equivalent US dollars, equivalent to 41 billion Guyana dollars. They take out 1 billion and they're giving it to their support base in the form of fertilizer distribution, free fertilizer distribution. These are business people, rice farmers and so forth, who have made hundreds of millions of dollars. But yet this regime is taking $1 billion taxpayers' money and dish it out, throw it away just like that, because we know it is a form of corruption. Not only that, you hear that they're going into the hinterland area now and they give out one-off $25,000. Just one-off. They're dashing away money left, right, and center throughout the country without any accountability. We can't sit and say the options. Now it's not time to sit at the table with them and talk about options. Now it's time to bring them to their knees with boots on the ground. Look, we've been there, done that with boots on the ground. But who am I to say, right? The leader of the opposition no longer wants boots on the ground at all. But go ahead, Lincoln.
I have not heard the leader of the opposition saying that you don't want boots on the ground.
That is the impression. Action speaks louder.
I am still of the impression since he has not said so, that all options are on the table, and at appropriate time, everything, the most appropriate one will be applied.
You know what? By that time, the PPP would have gotten away with murder in all of the stronghold areas of the coalition. Let us sit down and wait for the appropriate time. Let me wait for the appropriate time. If our ancestors were waiting for the appropriate time, slavery would never have been abolished. If coffee was sitting and waiting for the appropriate time, then we would not have gotten there 18.
Yes, Mark, Mark,
Mr. Lewis, one second. You know what I will do? I will also sit and wait for the appropriate time. Continue, sir.
I want to tell you something, Mark. Coffee waited for the appropriate time to strike, right? I'm saying that was the appropriate time for him. You have to plan for it. But let me say to you, the same forum that we sit and we talk about the elections and what have you, we need to put in place mechanism for the discussion of how we are going to empower our people as these people carve out this country. These men and women are carving out this country for themselves. There's a time going to come when there's nothing left. So the issue, as I said, as we talk about constitution,
wait until that time comes when there is nothing.
I am not saying that we should wait until that time comes. I'm saying that we must have a plan. We have to get a plan.
You know what?
We can't just sit down and wait for election to see if you're going to win an election and get government before you talk about empowering people. Because this $1 billion that this government is talking about, where is going? It's going to its supporters, its support base. That's where it's going.
Of course it's
going. While they're eating mutton, the other people getting nothing.
You know, Lincoln, that is not true. The $1 billion is not going into their support base. 3/4 of that money is going into the pockets of corrupt officials of the PPP. That is.
Well, there's a support base. There's a support base.
Corruption, massive corruption. Lincoln, I have a watch here, right? Whenever next you come on this show, I'm not wearing my watch any longer. I'm going to sit.
Like you want to put me off, Mark?
I'm sitting and wait for the time. I'm going to wait for the right time to come because I don't know when that is. People are starving in that country. People are being discriminated against in that country. People are being bullied in that country. All manner of things. People are being persecuted. You name it in that country. But here's what. Before we go, I want to ask you about the credit union, right? I want to ask you about the credit union, sir, before you go. But sorry about that. I'll solicit your opinion on this matter before we go.
I just wish to advise you guys that what we want to do is to ensure that your mortgages as well as the car loans and those things that we ensure that we continue to give you just as when as in 2013 when I went to the I just wish to advise you guys that what we want to do is to ensure that your mortgages as well as the car loans and those things that we ensure that we continue to give you just as when as in 2013 when I went to the annual general meeting and I asked them to approve mortgages. Since in 2013 the last annual report will show you guys that I'm the person who talked about mortgages and building branches to all of the building branches in all of the different regions. Today's meeting was unfortunate because several of us, we had a 1 o'clock appointment and we attempted to ask the chairman if the agenda could be suspended for us to deal with the pertinent issues on the agenda, such as fixing the budget so that we can have loans and mortgages approved for this month and next month. And also we wanted to raise the whole issue surrounding there's some things in terms of the structure for the organization that we need to fix. Before we had an opportunity to delve into those issues, the vice chairman who chaired the meeting said that the meeting is adjourned. So therefore, we're in an awkward position where we don't have money now that is approved for people to get their mortgages. I think this is. I think.
That issue that you want to look at is that important right now.
All right, Lincoln, this is my favorite part. What that guy was talking about, some whatever it is, Harmonstein, was trash. And I can't sit as a member of a union, any credit union or whatever, or any organization, and have someone like this guy who can't even speak and doesn't even know what the heck he's talking about. This lady and the other ladies are heroes. This is my favorite part.
The most important thing is to look after the chairmanship. That's what y'all want. We don't want y'all, especially you. Especially you are the king and the king behind this whole thing. We don't want you, and you have to go.
If y'all control, you have to control the money. You lie.
You got this guy. What you do? We don't want you. We don't want you. We don't want you. People by me. Everyone is on the court. People by me. We don't want you.
Lincoln, that is the appropriate treatment that guy got. They don't want him. They don't want to hear from him. They're not allowing him to put no options on the table. And just as how that vagabond was treated, that is exactly how these vagabonds in the PPP must be treated. Now is not time for no options on the table. Chase them out. Get them out. The same medicine Jack Dale told his supporters to apply on the coalition is the same.
Isn't that an option that can be on the table?
No, you don't put
Isn't
that
an
on the
option?
No, you deal with it.
No, it's an option.
No, you deal with it.
All
Lincoln,
options must be on the table.
Lincoln, please, your take on what's happening at the credit union, please.
It's very unfortunate, you know. One of the things I don't believe that the people understand the government that they're dealing with. This government wants these credit unions. You're talking about nearly about $4 billion in the line down there. And what this government is doing, if you observe one senior functionary of the PPP said that
legal regime
the PPP
is doing. What the
PPP
regime, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but you're entitled to call them a government. A lot of people don't see them as a government. Wait a minute, Lincoln. Wait, tonight, me and you tonight, right?
Yeah. Hold on, let me make my point. Hold on, you ask me a question, man. Let me make my point now. Let me make my point.
Sure.
Until such, let me tell you something, Mark. Mark, let me tell you. Let me tell you something. You know, all these numbers that you get there, these people have been sworn into office. You know why these people doing what they're doing? Because we're just walking around and spinning these numbers and talking that they're illegal rather than tackle them about how they're governing our, managing our affairs. We have to tackle them. That's what we got to tackle them on.
You know what?
Jagdio, I see a people with Jagdio or not.
Talk to your members. Talk to your members of the union. And just like we used to tackle them not so long ago, start tackling them again. I like that talk about you. Tackle them. We have to tackle them. We cannot legitimize them, Lincoln.
I am saying to you, you have to tackle them based on the office that they hold. And the GCOM has made the declaration, and until such time that the court pronounce or you get a new election, Norton is the opposition leader and Ting is the president. They get him paid from our money and they must deliver. We have to tackle them in that manner. You can't sit down. But let me come back to this credit union. Let me tell you this. As one functionary for the PPP said, oh, the PSU credit union, and the PNC people them inside there. Every way that they perceive a group of people to be supporters of the PNC, and they get an institution what they do is that they use the law to move those people out and appoint who they feel should lead you. This is how this government has behaved in all the years. And these men and women who sit on this committee of management, while they may be conscious of it, well, some may be conscious of it, and they are working in cahoots with the government to do what is being done there. There are some who don't understand it and be strategic enough to behave in a certain way to counter or repel the government from coming and put a management committee. When they finish that, they're going to do. They are making it. They are making the ground fertile for the government to put in a management committee. That's what they're doing. And you see how fast. You see how fast the chief crop officer is, how fast she responds. She responds very fast. But I hope she responds with the same level of alacrity on the people's petition for general meeting to put a new committee in place. I hope she will do that. She ain't gonna do that. These are people, this is how these people behave. And our people need to come to terms with the behavior of the government, of the PPP. These guys, the strength of the PPP is that it's run by a cabal that has no shame. That is the greatest strength, that he can no shame. That's it.
All right. You know, Lincoln, it's always a pleasure to have you on this show. I agree with a lot of things that you've said, and running out of patience, I disagree with some of the things respectfully. You are a seasoned and a veteran trade unionist. You speak at times, most times with experience. You've been there, you've done that. Please don't take me the wrong way when I disagree with you, but I'm out of patience. I don't believe it's time for any option other than
Mark,
on the ground with these
Mark,
people.
let me tell you something. Mark. If I disagree with you with what you have said, I need to say to you why I disagree.
Fair
But
enough.
I'm going to tell you something. I love when people disagree with me because it shows that we are thinking and we are not a bunch of sheep who run down the same lane.
But one of
At
the
the same time.
One of the things, thank you, sir. One of the things I agree with you with, though, we have to tackle them. How we tackle them, when we tackle them, we can't wait. We're running out of time. Lincoln, we have to tackle them, and we have to tackle them now. Now is the time to tackle them. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. And
Thank you very much.
again, my condolences on the passing of your relatives, Colin Bob Semple and also Ted. All right, continue to be strong.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lincoln. Yeah.
Good one.
Lincoln Brandon Lewis. Lincoln Brandon Lewis there for you guys. Lincoln has said that we got to tackle them, and I agree with him. We have to tackle them. How many of you guys agree? We got to tackle them. We can't wait for the PPP at all to do anything that is decent. They're not going to do anything decent, and we got to tackle them. However you want to tackle them, we've got to tackle them. Remember what Bundiri said? This is what Bundiri said.
Right across Ghana, when the ministers of Granger or Nagamutu come here after the 21st of March, you say to them, walk behind them, chase them out, they're going to be illegal. Say to them, you're illegal. Free up the country, you're undemocratic. They're going to face a different situation right across the country.
When they come to the communities, whether it is in Berbice or Essequibo and Linden or in South Georgetown or Agricola or in Emnor or Port Morant, the people of Guyana should treat them as illegal. I said they should walk behind them, chase them out of your communities because it means they've been squatting in power.
And that's exactly what's happening to the PPP. They're squatting. They're in office under questionable circumstances. Now is not the time to say constitutionally they're this, and the Constitution doesn't always get it right. That is why we've got to confront certain bad aspects of the Constitution. Well, in this case, it's not bad aspect, it's a bad regime that is using the Constitution to stay in power. And we cannot empower them at all. We cannot enable them to do these sort of things. We cannot legitimize them. We cannot just sit and talk with them and get nothing out of it. What we want from this is, apart from tackling them, right? What we want from it is the elections petitions to be heard. Meanwhile, you get fire, suspicious fire at crime lab, all manner of things, all manner of things. The fires are back again. The fires are back again. This may not be the last. We might have more. Who knows? Robeson Bend. We're still waiting on the last fire report about what happened at police headquarters. That report has been ducked. Compliments of Robeson Bend, because he just doesn't want that report to get out. Quickly before we go, the family members of these fishermen still missing. No word from the regime, none whatsoever. They don't care about these fishermen. They don't care about the family members of these fishermen. And there's another fisherman that's missing on the quarantine, Kalicharan Mohabir from Ulverston Village. Still missing. No police work on it. Nothing at all. That is the Guyana we're dealing with. But now they come again with the billions of dollars. This is a fraud. It's a recipe for fraud again. They are going to steal the bulk of this money. And again, look, we're too busy. 45 new cases, COVID-19 cases in Guyana. 2 persons are in the ICU, the intensive care unit. 45 cases, but who is paying attention? Nobody's paying attention. Nobody's paying attention. We got to go to the table, huh? We got to go to the table. I recall some people bush cooking, and they know that before that pot gets to the table, nothing for them to eat. So they eat before they get to the table. What the people have to do is action, boots on the ground, before any negotiation on the table. Boots on the ground. Hey, I've got to go. My name is Mark Bemshap. I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time. Don't forget, 8 o'clock tomorrow evening, Dinesh Jai Prashad, Member of Parliament, his program is on, 8 o'clock. But don't forget, tomorrow morning, we have the mid-morning show with Earl, Bishop, and Josh, and DJ Selector and the crew right here on 107.1 FM. Left, right, the government boots on the ground. Don't let nobody tell you no option that somebody promised them that if they don't get boots on the ground, they're going to get in the office. And look, oftentimes these diplomats, these foreign diplomats, they don't like boots on the ground. They don't like agitation. They don't like protest, because if there's protest, it means that all eyes are on them. And they want a nice, peaceful, quiet country where they can benefit from it, bring in their investors, bring in their friends and so forth, and they enjoy their stint in the country. So they're going to advise, don't protest, please, don't protest. And some of our leaders fall for that trap. Don't protest, trap. I've got to go, man. I've got to go. I took my watch off, and I'm going to wait for that time. Whilst I'm waiting for the time, I'm looking up the street for Lincoln and the members of all of the unions, not just Lincoln's union. I give Lincoln props. He's the only union leader that's speaking out. But Patrick Yard and all these guys are missing in action. I got to go. God bless you. See you tomorrow.
So this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
And me see Tyra lay down there. And me ask see Tyra what she do there. See Tyra ice up she penny good wine like a boxing good. See Tyra move and day, oh see Tyra move and day. See Tyra move and day, oh see Tyra move and day.
Sunday morning I was passing, and me see Tyra lay down there. And me ask see Tyra what she do there. See Tyra ice up she penny good wine like a boxing good. See Tyra move and day, oh see Tyra move and day. See Tyra move and day, oh see Tyra move and day. Shake, 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 Tyra, shake, 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 Tyra, shake, 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 Tyra. Oh.
One day me been a wakana, and me see Tyra pon the dam, and me ask see Tyra what she do there. See Tyra ice up she petticoat wine like a boxing board. See Tyra move and day, oh see Tyra move and day. See Tyra move and day, oh see Tyra move and day.
One day me been a wakana, and me see Tyra on the down, and me ask see Tyra what she do there. See Tyra ice up she very good by like a box of gold. See Tyra move and day, oh see Tyra move and day. See Tyra move and day, oh see Tyra move and day.
See Tyra
Move and day,
oh see Tyra
move and day.
see Tyra
Move